My name is Brianna Kilcullen. I'm the founder of ANACT, and I beat the often path by following my heart and creating a product that solves my own problems and bringing it to market and sharing it with the world.
So I'm very curious in the stories that have transformed people's own lives and also the stories that have helped people make some kind of an impact on their community or on the planet. And obviously, what you have done has done both. So if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about exactly what it is that you have done with your company.
Thank you so much. I'm so used to just working in the day to day of running the business that to step back and be reminded of what it stands for and have someone else reflect that back is means a lot. So thank you for
My
just
pleasure.
that.
It's what we do
I
here.
appreciate it.
I'm just trying to
uh,
shine some light on people who deserve it. That's it. That's my goal.
I well, bless you for that. We need more of you. So it's funny you say that. I think when you start a business, everyone likes to share all of their experiences. And one of the things I would always constantly hear is, I had this idea and then someone else did it. Or I thought of this and then someone else did it. And then they start talking about Shark Tank and how you should be on Shark Tank.
Yes.
And so
Or
I
Kickstarter.
think, or Kickstarter.
One of the
Yeah.
two.
Like one of the, or both.
Or both, yes.
And so I think for me, I'm such a different type of entrepreneur where, like, my whole life I was raised to my parents were our first generation immigrants.
Oh,
So
cool.
they want safety and security. They want me to be in a job, which for them is corporate. It's getting a 401k, it's getting stock options, it's having someone else be responsible for essentially.
What country, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, my dad's family's from Ireland and my mom's family's from Poland.
Okay, cool. So you got a
They came
mixture.
here. Yeah, so they're huge, like, families. My dad's one of 8 and my mom's one of 7.
Whoa.
So we're like ginormous,
Yeah.
like huge, huge family reunion. So my parents, like, everything they built is what they did. Like, nothing was given to them. So I think my brother and I are very like, everything we're going to have in life is what we've decided, what we will work for is what we'll get. And I think it's interesting. My parents were like, okay, you go to a company and you work, and then you work really hard for them, and then you'll be fine and you'll be safe in that umbrella, and you won't ever have any financial issues that they face, growing up being in these large families. And so that's what I was doing. And in the course of that time, I was just like, wait, the system doesn't make sense. Yes, I'm making good money. Yes, I'm having these savings, but I don't get to tap in or really ever stop working until I'm like 60 or 65.
If you're lucky.
If you make it that far. And then it's like, now I'm told I get to live. Like, this doesn't make sense to me at all.
Right.
Yeah. So that was really like the beginning where I started thinking, okay, well, what are my skill sets and what are my experiences and what value did they bring and where do I put them? That's also going to create freedom for myself as well. And so working in the textile industry, I worked at Under Armour, then I worked at Prana, which brought me to San Diego. And like, I started interviewing with these high profile startups that I was interested in. And I just started noticing, I was like, okay, like, they're not actually doing what I feel like needs to be done as it relates to sustainability in the textile industry. Like, they're just kind of following what everyone else is doing. So I was like, all right, I don't believe in this system anymore. Now I'm like trying to work with who I think would be disrupting it, which would be these up and coming startups, but they're not doing what I think they should be doing. So what do I do with myself? And I think that's where I started coming together to say, like, I have to create this on my own if I want to see it. And the 2016 election really taught me, like, if someone can run for office who I watched on a reality TV show, then like I can do whatever I want too. Like, there's no I was like, there's just no rules to the playbook.
There clearly are no rules. If there's one thing we've learned in the last several years, it's that there are absolutely no rules.
There's no rules. I was like,
None.
there's no one driving the bus.
No
I thought
logic.
someone was driving the
No
bus.
one's in control, folks.
No.
It's what we make of it.
So I was like, all right, I'm super impacted by my industry. I am fed up with all of the ways in which it's environmentally and socially impacting people on the planet. I don't see anyone doing this work. It needs to be done.
Yep.
And I'm going to go do it. And I'm going to do it by creating a brand and a product that people can get behind, that will then be able to share that story and to create that disruption. So
what was the
yeah.
first product that you created? I know, but just for our listeners.
Yeah. So I started, that was the logic. Those were like the key milestones of where my brain was at. And then I just started kind of really, I started noticing what are my products that I use and what could I do better knowing what I know. And I didn't have a washer or dryer in my home, which it's funny. I don't have one now either. And I noticed this mildewy smell that was picking up on my bath towels. And I've noticed for years.
A familiar smell. I think everybody knows that smell.
You're like, ew, like gotta throw this out. Right. Yeah, it's so gross. And I was like, you know what? Everyone keeps asking me to recommend a sustainable towel company, and I have no one I can recommend because nothing's working for me. And at the same time, I had started really in researching and understanding hemp as a fiber for textile. And hemp's molecular structure is hollow, so it resists the growth of bacteria. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, why aren't we using hemp as in our socks and our underwear and all these places where you want that tend to pick up mildew and the bacteria? And I just went on this whole deep dive and I was like, this fiber's coming back. Like it got a bad rap with marijuana, but it's going to start to branch out. It's going to do its thing. And this is what I want. And so that was really what set me on the course of designing this towel made out of hemp, to solve my own problem of mildewy towel. Yeah.
Well, that's a founder story that we hear so often, somebody solving their own problem. But an interesting thing is, our audience is going to learn a new vocabulary word. I know I did. The word biostatic, right?
Yeah.
That's the word. That's the property of hemp that we're looking for. It's hollow nature, right? And this biostatic property is what makes it particularly good for things like avoiding mildew on towels, right?
I guess the other word to add to that is biomimicry. So
we get two.
You get two. You being able to imitate nature. Like natural. So for me, it was like this, we should be using natural resources that imitate how nature works, like how a leaf naturally repels water. So like when I was at Prana, they were looking into potentially how could you do a jacket that would perform like how a leaf performs when it gets wet. It just wicks the water off naturally. Those are like the things I'm really into just because it already exists. It's not like it doesn't require any chemicals or harmful chemicals and dyes to bring this to life. It's just, it exists. And how do we mimic it for our everyday use?
That's so great. Yeah, I love that too. And those are the best kinds of solutions, it seems like, that we're finding. I call them win-win-wins, right? Wins for us, wins for a company, wins for the planet. But one of the coolest parts about your story, and it's a theme that I run into over and over again doing this. So part of this is for me to get inspiration from my own life. And I'm always wondering, I've built a marketing agency, and I'm always kind of wondering about taking the next step towards just using my marketing skills and building my own company as this rather than doing it for other people. So it's actually very interesting for me personally on a human level, but I'm an overthinker by nature. So for me, when I think of ideas or what could be a product idea, I tend to think that it has to be some crazy, insane thing or some really new thing. And then I'll go on Shark Tank and I'll see that somebody who just put a cupcake in a box and shipped it got funded by Kevin O'Leary. And to me, that's not an idea. That's just a thing that I would never even consider, that putting a cupcake in a box and shipping it could be a thing. I would never have considered that making a towel out of hemp would be enough of a novel idea to form a company. It just wouldn't even occur to me. But yet I see this trend time and again that people are doing that. So how did you know that this concept would be enough? Was it a guess, or did you just feel that if I start with a towel? What was that process at the genesis of this?
Yeah. I'm so enjoying this interview because I do so many of them and I don't ever get to like deep dive into some of these components. So thank you for these questions. Um, I feel you on the Shark Tank cupcake in a box. Like to me, that's a need. That's not a problem. So I just love simplicity. I'm like, look, pandemic kicked all of our asses and still kicking our asses. Who needs to be sold anything that doesn't actually give them value and doesn't allow? I think we're moving into this, hopefully space of more around experiences and time and connection as opposed to just consumption. And so for me, I could only with the towel, it falls into Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I could get behind you use a towel every day. Somebody's got to take up that market share. Might as well be me. And I did a lot of research on the branding and the marketing of the home goods space, and a lot of customer data insights and reading reports. And I saw this huge gap in brand loyalty, where there's no cool towel brand. Like there's the Patagonia, there's Nike, there's a Tom's, but there's no one who owns the home goods space. And there's no one who is marketing to men. It's very female driven. So for me, it was like, not only are we solving a problem instead of focusing on a need, we're now also opening up a conversation and creating imagery with customers or a different target markets that have never been marketed to, but all use a towel.
Right. Well,
so that was it.
You mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What about Douglas Adams' hierarchy of needs? Are you familiar with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Oh, gosh, I guess it's a towel. Yeah.
The only thing that anybody needs in his mind was a towel. The number one thing across the entire universe. So some might say that it's at the very top or the bottom. I think it's the bottom, right?
I want to do a custom. Oh no, I want to do like for the Hitchhiker's Guide a custom towel and like market it, because I feel like that could
one customer right here. First customer, I will buy that towel.
Okay, I'm writing this down because it's soon. I think it's like April or May, which is his.
I don't actually know. It'll show up, but put 42 on it. That's all I ask. 42 must be on it. That's the answer to the universe, life, the universe, and everything.
Noted.
Right.
Okay.
All right, folks, this is that moment in the show where I humbly ask you to rate the show 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or 5 stars on Spotify. Basically, wherever you are listening to it, if you enjoy these stories, please help support the show. Just rate it 5 stars, leave a positive review. That's all I ask, just to help me grow this podcast with you. So now back to the episode. So you've got this idea. You've worked in the industry. You've had inside knowledge, another trend that we've seen. You've seen problems within. And I think that's important to kind of dwell on, just because it's not like you came completely out of the blue. You worked in the corporate America scene, and that's where you saw firsthand that there was this need, both from a personal level and from a corporate level. And as so many people do, they realize, hey, it's not all about the money. There are other things that I value. So the cool two-parter here is, one, that you're doing something that you believe is good for the world, and I do too, I should say. But the other is that you are taking some sort of personal freedom, and you're taking a risk for the sake of personal freedom, so that you're not at the whims of your corporate overlords. You have to actually take initiative. So I love both of those aspects. Describe that first year. If I'm not mistaken, you did $100K in revenue. I think I read that on your website or somewhere the first year. How did that part go? First of all, how did you manufacture this product? And then how did you bring it to market?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now my people who I pay my respects to are angel investors. So now I have a different type of
your new godfathers and mother.
New godfathers.
Gotta kiss the ring.
Exactly. But at least they're into seeing things come to life. Whereas like if you go into corporate, they're just focused on like maintaining whatever package and cashing out so that they can go to their next place. Like they're not interested at all in pushing forward and disruption. So I think that's the beauty in this new space I find myself. But for me, manufacturing is my background when I started at Under Armour. So I had a really good understanding of how the conversations and processes worked. So I started and tried to produce here in the US. We couldn't find anyone to work with us. We went to Europe, couldn't get a product that could compete costing wise. And then finally got to China, and they were able to execute a product that hit our quality needs, our costing needs, our design needs, and make it happen. So that was, I did samples. I've tested like literally every towel in the market. And then I created based off of what I wanted to see, brought that to life with the factory. They didn't want to produce it because everyone's used to expecting plush towels. So again, like I think everything I've done is always to just do things very simple. You want plush, we're not doing plush. You want colors, we're not doing colors. Because of the chemicals and dyes. Like it's not because I'm just being an asshole. Like it's like, no, we're actually going to make a product that performs better, that protects your skin. Like here's all the things. We're going to roll pack it. We're not going to do like a square, the folded towel that you traditionally see. No plastic is used. So the factory like it was so hard to get them to do that because they're like, but we don't do this. Everyone wants this. And I'm like, right, that's the whole point.
That's precisely why I'm here.
Yeah, it's like if I'm not doing something different, then what value am I providing?
Right.
But I think it's a safety thing that people are like, oh, you'll be safe if you do what everyone else does. It's like, yeah, then you're not doing it right. You're not doing what you should be doing.
So
because it's already been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
well,
sorry, go ahead.
We don't historically think that hemp and China go together. Regulatory reasons. Have they legalized hemp for this? Were there any issues along that front?
Hemp is huge in China. So when I traveled there in 2017, the government has invested so heavily in the infrastructure and have moved over from using cotton. So they have their government, they have their military. Everyone is now moved over utilizing hemp as a preferred textile.
Whoa, I did not know that. That's awesome.
That was when I was on the ground. I'm like, oh, if they're doing this, why aren't we doing this?
Correct.
And that's the questions I start to ask myself. But no, with China, well, with the U.S., we made it illegal in 1937 because of that connection to marijuana. So we made it. I know. Yeah. So we made it illegal, but we were importing it in. So we've been importing it in for decades. And so countries like China, India have started have infrastructure to do this. And so when I started connecting all of the dots, I was like, we can make a bomb product, like an amazing product. And we'll be able to have these conversations around infrastructure and what's been preventing us from bringing it to life. But so I designed the product. I have been very slow. Like we could have been much faster to market, but I'm just a big a big fan of, okay, is this actually resonating outside of my ego? Like, do other people like this? Do they want more of it? Is this hitting the needs? They're solving their problems. And so through Kickstarter, that allowed us to do our first order to meet our minimum production, and then have leftover production to sell and go to market. So I've been very methodical and just typically what we do is we sell product and then we sell out and then we order another round. It's not driven by let's just, infiltrate the space as fast as possible. And so through that and getting 5-star reviews and getting people say I feel really good knowing that I'm buying from this company and that this product is solving my problems has just allowed us to continue to grow slowly, but very authentically. And yeah, we did 100K our first year. We did a little over 150K this year.
Congrats.
So yeah, so we're a little under the 300K mark, which is exciting. And we had, when we had Kickstarter, we actually received our inventory in March of 2020, which is when COVID was officially starting to happen here in the US and the lockdowns. So it's been a while. All I know on how to sell is COVID times. I don't even know pre-COVID times when people are like, well, that's how it used to be. I'm like, I don't even know. All I know is like, these are the markets we sell in and these are how we operate in them.
Turns out people quarantining at home also need a towel.
Well, that's like a huge uptick, is that people now realize they want to invest in their nest. And oh, I should write that down as
Yeah,
like
I
an
was thinking, I was like, have
marketing
you not written
ploy.
that down? That sounds bumper sticker worthy.
I was like, invest in
In
your
your
nest.
nest. That's a new
Oh
slogan. You heard it
my
here. Boom.
gosh.
Poof, we got it.
Ooh,
We got
got the
one on the
mic.
show.
Hello. Yeah.
I can't wait
No,
to see
but
that everywhere.
and Amazon reached out to us in April, right? Like a month after
We want to
lockdown.
steal
And
your idea.
well, they were like, based off our customer insights and trends, there's going to be a huge uptick in people going outdoor recreational use. Like they called that at the beginning of the pandemic. They were like, this is going to happen. So people are going to look for outdoor versatile products they can use indoor and outdoor. We believe your towel's one of them. Like, we think you should sell in this marketplace. So those were some of the like points where I was like, okay, yeah, got it. All right.
Did
Let's
you
keep
say
it
no
going.
at that point or did you say yes?
I said no
Good.
because everyone
My opinion.
so hates Amazon. Well, I was like, no, we're not doing that. We'll just go to market and do this ourselves. And so we have been doing that and we have been doing well, but we did decide to go on Amazon in November because what I think happens for home goods specifically is people are like wanting to buy everything in one cart. So like people are going to Pinterest and saying like, okay, in my new bathroom, I want these towels and like this lamp and whatever. And then I want to just go to one place to buy it
Target
all.
run.
You would think, but because of COVID, everyone's doing
The
Amazon.
Amazon run.
So we've been on it and we've been doing well. And I think the future of e-commerce is, or the current reality of e-commerce is, you just have to be multi-channel. And in our mindset, we're like, we need to make ourselves as accessible as possible for people to find us. And if, as long as we don't change the integrity of our product, then like we are missing so many sales and so many opportunities to share our product by being like anti certain places.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yet again, I'm schooled.
Money talks.
Money
And
talks.
Amazon
Yeah.
pays, and some other people don't.
Right.
So
Yeah. I am wondering, so I've seen at this point from your website, you've had quite a few legitimate media experiences. You have been on Good Morning America. Am I right about that? So how did you start generating legitimate media buzz? Did people approach you? Was that an active strategy that you had?
no, PR was never something. It's always come free. We've always had organic. So we have the number one on Google spot for hemp towels. And that was completely accidental. That's just because like I've blogged, done podcasts, I've done interviews for years on hemp and textiles and sustainability because it's, why I left my career and to do. And so through that, we carved out that spot. So like the best things that have ever happened to us have been completely free through Google. And ABC found us on Google on through Google, reached out, and that's how I secured the Good Morning America gig. And I did an interview with Politico. So there's been some other bigger ones, but it's been grassroots. Like I'll be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And they're like, you should talk to so-and-so, or like, I want to connect you. And then it goes from there.
Did you notice a material bump after Good Morning America? Was there a giant uptick?
Yeah. Oh no, that was like an insane sales. In 2 days, we were like, yes, this is great. Like I wish we could do this all the time. So that was very nice. And then it was funny because then the next 2 days after, this really large wholesale platform reached out. I'm like, oh, you must have seen us on Good Morning America. And she's like, no, it was Google. So I think because hemp is trending and continuing to trend, organically people are now looking for hemp-based products. And then that's where we're able to meet people. And then I think because it's not like a paid spot, like we're just naturally there, people are coming to us.
So at the beginning, you did Kickstarter to fund the first rounds, and then I'm assuming you went boots on the ground to China, and then you experienced these factories. Now you mentioned angel investors. How has the investment approach changed?
Yeah. So I was always anti-investor because everyone just says like, oh, this horrible experience and just keep bootstrapping. But the reality of how the textile industry is set up is that's just not, we're not a SaaS business. It's not like we're just so heavy and having to order inventory and you have to pay for everything and then it has to sit on the ocean and then you have to turn it. And so your cash flow can get locked very, very quickly. And we're also working, like we have a new product that hasn't been on the market. We're doing a new business model where we freelance out for each one of our channels. So we freelance for someone to run our Amazon channel, run our Pinterest, to run Google, and we just operate via Slack. So there's like a lot of nuances to the business that haven't been done in traditional brick and mortar retail ways because we don't have any brick and mortar. That it just realized we needed investment and traditional financing is not set up for startups in this country. They want 3 years of financials. They want you to be doing a restaurant. Like they don't want e-commerce and hemp. So it pushed me into having conversations with angel investors, and we were getting already investors interested because they want to see manufacturing come back to the US, and we represent part of that. So I decided I had to change my perspective and look at it as, instead of this like, give and take like model where we just all of a sudden we're like not the brand or anything anymore. It was more like, this is a strategic partner who has a resource that you need for your business, and that they're going to now open up their Rolodex and their contact list to help you get there. And the more people who believe in your vision, the more faster you're going to get there, and not by holding it in just to say, I own this and no one can touch it. So that was like my pivot into being open and taking on angel investors.
So, Brianna, thank you very much for sharing your journey with all of us. I'm deeply humbled that you came on here. I think it's super cool. I wish you nothing but the best. Onwards and upwards for the next several years. Keep on rocking. Keep on building your corner of the universe. I think it's fabulous what you're doing. Any parting words or anywhere that people can support you or anything you want to draw attention to? I'll let you have the floor as we wrap it up.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for taking the time and being present and in the moment. It's so rare these days. So I really appreciate that. And of course, obviously a shameless plug. If you want to check us out, ANACT.com, ANACT, and follow us at ANACT Global. And yeah, we would love to have you anyone who's listening to be a part of the community. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. My email is bkilcullen@enact.com. And just, yeah, thank you again.
Thank you. And with that, the official podcast is over.
Over.